Hey everybody, Andrew here. Very nice little dripper to show you today. Came to me from the Philippines and it's called the Crown Dripper. And it came from FMP Pinoy. Now FMP stands for Flip Minds Project. Now what that means I'm not sure. I would assume that it's along the lines of, looking at things in a different way or something like that, but who knows. Anyway, Flip Minds Project, FMP Pinoy. And it came to me from the Philippines, from Manila. When I knew it was on the way to me, I thought, great, I'll expect it in a couple of days or whatever. It arrived to me in less than a day, which is just absolutely astonishing. The world's gotten to be a very, very small place. So anyway, here it is. Now, this is sitting on top of a Nemesis, and that really has to be one of the nicest looking drippers out there. The top part here, and we'll go down close on it and I'll show you it in detail, but this particular version that I have here, this is a gold plated, this is essentially an air control, what's happening up here, but you can also get a silver one, so it's matte stainless steel, just so it just sits on top of the other one and it's the same sort of metal. But this is it. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Now, as it is on this one here, this is a 21mm sitting on a 22mm. But the way it works at the bottom here, given the fact that it cuts back in anyhow, I think that, so it's not trying to pretend to be flush, it's not going flush at the bottom. I think that, as a 21, it sits on the 22 absolutely fine without any problem at all. I think it looks really, really good. So let's see. I've just got a 1 ohm coil in it at the moment, dual coil actually, with silica in this particular case. So let's just see what it's like. And it performs like a dream, an absolute dream. So without any further ado, let's go down close to it. I'll take it apart, you can have a look at it, and then we'll build a coil for it and have a little bit of a chat afterwards. This is what I received here. So basically we have the atomizer here, the dripper, and then I also got these drip tips. So let's put the drip tips aside for the moment. First of all, they come in these, it's almost like bespoke little jiffy bags, and you have to actually cut the top off here. So they're sealed into it. So nice sort of presentation. So let's get this thing out and have a bit of a closer look at it. Now of course I went and sealed this back up again, so I need to just get it open here. So this is it. Now, as it stands at the moment, this would be pushed the full way in here. It's just that, well, actually, let me just push it in the full way so you can see exactly what it looks like here. And this is it, the Crown in all its glory. Now, this is made from 304 grade stainless steel. It's got adjustable airflow. And this comes about as a consequence of this rotating crown. You can just see a hole there. There's a hole on the opposing side because this is basically made for dual coils. And then essentially what happens is that as you actually turn the crown on it, you get different size air holes going over it. So from small ones to slightly bigger to bigger again, and then that's the biggest one of all of them there, as you can see. So it's very, very easy to actually change the airflow on this, which I think is great. Also, you've got these sort of notchings here on the side, which make it quite easy to manage. So let's take it apart and have a look at it. To actually take the bottom part out, you do need to actually set it onto a mod and pull it, because the O-rings that hold the top part in place are pretty strong and hold it on in a good way. So let's put this down first. Then we'll take this part off here. and then we can take our crown off the actual body here as well. So that's essentially the pieces that we have. Okay, so let's take this one piece at a time. So let's go for the base first of all. And as you can see here, we've got our 3 posts, our positive in the middle, and then our 2 negatives on the outside. In each case, we've got a flathead screw that goes into it, and we've obviously got a hole going through each one as well. So you can see it there. And if you actually can look inside, you can see these are essentially hollow. So what you'll be doing is putting your wire through this hole here. I've already put a coil or 2 into it, and it seems to be really relatively easy to do. Now, dual coils, for people who aren't used to them, and I'd have to say that I'm not really a dual coil person, but of any of the ones that I've tried to set up, this is probably one of the easier ones, you know, because of the fact that it's raised. It's reasonably easy to sort of get access to, and it just seems to work quite well. So what we also have then on the side is we've got the O-rings here, which actually keeps the sleeve on top of it. We've got our serial number at the bottom. We've got our 510 connection at the bottom, and also a logo at the bottom as well. And as I said before, this is made from 304 stainless steel. So that is that part of it. And what goes on top of that is this piece here. And this piece essentially pushes down onto this, and it's a good firm connection. It fits nicely onto it. And to actually get it off, you really need to stick this onto a mod, because it just you won't be able to pull it off that way. So again, on this is really quite thick. When you actually look at the width of the walls on this, it's a serious lump of stainless steel, and it's got obviously these 2 O-rings that are going around the outside, and then the 2 air holes here on either side, which you'll see now in a second why they're there and how this particular part works. Then looking into the middle of it, you can see this threading on the inside, and that's where the actual top cap goes onto it, because again, this isn't a press fit top cap. It's not one that you just sort of push down on it. Essentially what it is it screws into it, which I think works really, really well. And that's fine, because it can screw in as tightly as you want, because you're actually adjusting the airflow from the side anyway. It's not like it's the whole bell at the top that has to turn around, as happens with a lot of drippers. So I think it's really quite clever as a design, and I think it works very, very well. Looking at the next part, and you can see now why it's called the crown. I think it looks absolutely great. So it is a crown, and with this particular version obviously is gold plated. You can see it, and very, very nicely plated as well. It really looks very, very smart. But you can also get it so that it's just matching stainless steel, so it's the same as the rest of it. But in my case, I've got this gold one. So there's the crown. That's where the name comes from. I think it's very, very pretty. So that essentially then just slides onto this. So it just goes on like that there. Okay, and then I'll show you those air holes now in a second, but after I show you the top. And the top, as I said, it's threaded, so it actually screws into the top part here. Again, there's weight to this. That's a serious bit of stainless steel there. Threading is absolutely beautiful on it. Really, I'd have to say, quality-wise, this is top class. I mean, it really is beautifully turned, everything on it. So that, I mean, again, the threads are just perfect going into it. So that essentially just screws on like that onto the top, giving you your complete crown dripper. So With this, I also got a drip tip. Now this, obviously, this will take any sort of a drip tip at all into it. As long as a 510 drip tip, there's no issue putting anything in there at all. But let's put in the ones that actually that came with it. But these, as I said, these are separate. These, you know, when you're buying this, you don't actually get a drip tip with it. You'll have to buy a drip tip separately, or else use one of your own to actually go with it. So within this pack that I got, you can see it here, essentially what there is there's a plastic drip tip, and then there's a metal version of the same thing, so they look identical. Now, I suppose the reason for that is that depending on what sort of coils you're putting in this, it could get quite hot. And I would imagine that the plastic one is there, is, you know, for people who are really pushing it to the extreme. It means that you're not going to get the heat traveling up through the actual steel of the drip tip, so it's not going to burn your mouth. I would assume that that's what it's for anyway. But then again, some people just don't like metal drip tips anyway. So there are the two of them there. And so let's pop one of them in. And there it is, in place. I think it looks terrific. Now you can see the bore on this is really big on this particular drip tip. So it means that, you know, you can just drip directly into it. But if you want to actually remove the top, all you have to do is, because this obviously fits in nice and tight into the top plate, if you want to have a good look at what's going on and drip into particular areas on it, the whole thing can come off like that. And then you're left with the inside there, which works really well. Now, let's get to the air flow on this particular one. Essentially what you're going to have is you have a hole on either side, because this is now let's just find the holes. There we go there. So you're going to have one there, and then you're going to have another one on the opposing side, because it's a dual coil. Now, as it stands at the moment, it's actually misaligned, because when we look on the inside, you can see the hole that's down there, and the hole that's on the other side, which is down there, is essentially not going to be lining up with the coils. So the way I put that top part on was incorrect relative to the posts on the inside. So let's just take it off again. I'm going to take the crown off for the moment. And if you look at that there, we're going to have one coil on one side here, and the other coil on the other side here. So that means that what we need is the air holes to be on either side. So if I take it that on this one here, the coil is going to be going between here and here, and on the other side it's obviously in the opposite place, then what I need to do is make sure that the hole, as I actually put it on, is going to be lined up with that coil. So that means that I'm going to need that to be going about like that. So let's push this down and have a look. So when we look inside now, we can see that we got a hole which is opposite one coil there, and then we have a hole that's on opposite the other coil there. Okay, so that's the way it needs to be set up. Now obviously some people, they sort of vary that a little bit, and it's all down to personal choice. Generally speaking, it is, you put the hole right in front of the get that back in focus. You do put the hole right in front of the coil, but again, that's down to however you want to set the coils up or whatever. So that's now in place. So if I actually put the crown onto this and I slide that down there, as you can see, that's got the biggest hole there on that side and on that side as well. So that's giving us the maximum amount of airflow. Now if I put this on the mod, it'll just make it a little bit easier for me to position everything. Okay. So that particular air hole there is the biggest one, which is 2.5 millimeters, 2.5 millimeters. Okay, So if I then want to, I'll tell you what, we'll start with the smallest one first. So this one here, again, both sides is 1 millimeter. We go to the next size here, which is there. That's 1.5 millimeters. We go to the next size here, which is 2 millimeters. And then we go to the next size here, and that is 2.5 millimeters. And again, in every case, you're going to have the same thing on the other side. So I think that gives you a huge amount of choice. The other thing is, of course, as well, that, you know, on any of those, what you can do is actually you can only go, you know, if you want to just do a half of a hole or something, you can do that as well. So it just gives you complete versatility in terms of your air control throughout the whole thing. Also, this crown moves so smoothly on the O-rings underneath. There's no squeaking, there's no nothing, you know, it's just absolutely seamless on it. So again, I think very, very nicely done. And as I said before, when you've actually got your top cap screwed on here, like this, it just means that, you know, the thing rotates perfectly within it. You can see it doing its job there. This stays in place. Everything is tickety-boo. So, you know, when it comes to drippers, I think this just does a really, really good job. It allows you have all the versatility that you want in a very, very good looking piece, very, very solid piece. I mean, I could imagine, you know, 20, 30 years later, you're probably, it would still look the same. Maybe that your gold plating comes off a bit or whatever, but this is not going to get bent. This is not going to get damaged. This is a very, very robust piece, which would, you know, take a hell of a beating, really, which is, I think, a good thing. So I suppose the next thing for us to do really is to, we'll make a coil and see what it vapes like. Right, let's see if we can make a couple of coils to go into this. Now, I will say in advance on this, I am not really a dual coil person, so if I end up making a complete mess of it, please forgive me. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use silica. I've got 3mm silica here, and then I am going to use 0.20 Canthal. I'm hoping for around, you know, maybe 2 ohms per coil, which will then sort of cut down to around 1-ish, something like that. So let's see if we can make this coil. Now I've just got this sitting on a, if you can get one of these are absolutely fantastic. They're really heavy. It's just a base. It just makes it really easy to, you know, put any coils onto anything, you know, because it just keeps it nice and steady. And unlike what I normally do is when I have one of these, you know, sitting on a mod and then I forget to lock it off, inevitably I end up sort of burning myself or causing myself some sort of an injury. So for me, this is just a great way of ensuring that I'll make it through the review without killing myself. So that has to be a good thing. So let's go in a bit closer. So we'll put this to the side for the moment. What we want to do with this is essentially put this into a sort of an S shape, like so. If you can see it, I might actually go a little bit further back out because it's very hard to keep in camera when I'm doing this. So essentially what it is, let's, if I put it down, you can see what I'm doing. What you're doing is you're basically going like that into an S shape, okay, and then just pinch it together. So essentially what we've got is something like that. Okay, so let's wrap this. Now, as I said, I want 4 wraps on it. And I also want to try and keep the loops reasonably close together. I don't want this to be a big, long, sort of a long coil. So, as you can see there, if we can try and keep them sort of that sort of distance apart, that should be just about right. So there we have it now. 4 wraps there. Okay, now the legs on this are going to be coming out on the same side, so they need to be pointing out in the same direction. And as it is there, I've actually got one too many, so I can pull that back again. So that's what we're left with. And then we've got the tails coming out on the same side there. So that's our first one done. So what I need to do is just basically do the same thing again with the other one. So again, just fold it over into a sort of an S shape and then just pinch it in the middle like that. Take our 0.2 canthal and then just again 1 and then nice and close together 2, 3, 4. Pull it out this side and then I can unwrap this one here. So what we should have is again 4 neat coils. We can sort them out afterwards, we can make them prettier if we need to, but that's essentially what we're looking for there. So now I've got this one and I've got this one. So these are what we are now going to put, hopefully, onto this. Now let's see if we can thread these things through. As I said, I don't generally do, I tend to use K-funds and things like that, so this is all a little bit new to me, so we'll give it a go and see what happens anyway. And if any of you who happen to be watching this are, you know, serial or serious people at doing dual coils, please forgive me for what I do. But we'll give it a go. So I'm going to do it the best way that I think I can do it, right? So what I'm doing is putting the first one through there and then folding the 2 legs upwards so I'm still able to get hold of them afterwards, okay? So I'll do the same thing now with these ones here. Again, have just one slightly longer than the other one. And pop them through if I can. So there's one through the middle, and now it'd be useful if I could, hang on, let's make this a little bit shorter. So see if I can get this one in through the middle again. Okay, so that's through the middle, and then we need this one here to go through the outside here. If I can see the bloody thing. Now, that would appear to be going the right way there. So what I'll do is I'll pull that one up a bit and I'll pull that one up a bit. So that means that I've got everything going upwards. So I know where each of the leads actually is. So now let's pull this one in. So this is our right hand one, and pull those up straight, and then just move this one into position here as well, and pull that in and that in so that that is in position as well. And I've got all my leads sticking upwards like that. And we want these nestled in on either side. Now, as it stands at the moment, they are going to need a little bit of tidying up, but I think it's probably good enough for what I'm doing at the moment. Now, again, what you have to be careful with in these, because remember these are hollow screws, or rather, you know, the screws are going into sort of hollow posts. If you screw it down too tight, what happens is it basically cuts the wire, and not necessarily in a good way. It can cut it right at the edge as it's actually going in. So what that means then is that you don't have a contact anymore. So what I find is you just basically need to tighten it so that it's firm, but don't over tighten it. You know, don't try and screw the screw down so that it actually makes it down to the bottom. So something like that should be enough. As long as it's holding it in place, it should be absolutely fine. Okay. So once we've done that, then what we can do is just give a couple of wiggles, if that's going to work. Now I think this actually needs a bit more of a tighten. Okay, so that one gone there now. So this one here, now let's see if we can get this one out. That's that one gone. Now we'll try and again just make sure that this hasn't loosened up too much. Get this one out, and that is now gone. So that leaves us just with one, and again just make sure that it's tight enough to hold it while I'm actually wiggling it. And that's that one gone. So that's all 4 of the leads actually gone. Now what we do need to do is just sort of sort this out a little bit, because you know we want it to be reasonably even. We also want to make sure that it's not touching the edges and that it's also not touching the bottom as well, because otherwise you get shorting and sort of all sorts of weird things happening. So that would appear to me to be reasonably okay. Not the prettiest coil I've ever made, but I think that should do absolutely fine. So after that, really all we need to do is sort of trim all of this off. But before I do that, I just want to see, and of course, you know, before I took the wires off and everything, I should have done this beforehand, because I just want to check and see what sort of ohms we have got on this. So let's screw it off the base here. And I'm hoping for around the sort of the 1 mark or the 1.1. I mean, many people, you know, where they like to be is sort of below 1 ohm. I'm not really one of them, you know. If I'm, you know, generally speaking on the various different things that I would use, like K-funds and whatnot, I'd like to be up around sort of 1.4, 1.5, you know, that kind of area. But each to their own. So let's see what we get here when we turn it on. And it's actually 0.9 ohms, right? Which is fine, because I'm running this on a mechanical mod anyway. Obviously, if you're to put an extra wrap on either side of that, that's going to bring that up over the 1 ohm, up to maybe 1.1, 1.2, something like that. But listen, for the purposes, I think this is fine. And why have we gone out of focus? There we are there. Right. So let's trim it down. Okay, well look, there's obviously far too much wick here, so what we need to do is basically trim some of this off. So I'm just going to split the ends here where we have our loops, and then we can decide what we're going to keep and what we're going to actually cut off. So just cut the ends here, and then we have another loop here as well. Okay, now there's obviously far too much going on there. What I have been doing, and again, I don't know whether this is right or wrong, but what I've been doing is I've actually been turning one piece to go underneath the coil. Not necessarily pushed up against it, but just so that it's actually at the bottom in the well. So it's basically absorbing any liquid that's actually underneath. From when you might sort of over drip a bit or whatever. So let's just pop one down here, if I can get it to go down. And usually you need to sort of twist it back like this, and then just pop that one underneath there like that, if it will go. And eventually it does. So we can leave that there. And then what we'll do is do a similar thing over on this side here. And again, just take one of these. Usually the easiest one to take is the bottom one. And again, just pop that down underneath there like that. And then I'm just going to basically trim all this other stuff off. Like this. Okay, and then we need to do the same thing over on this side here. Now, as you'll see, there's actually a lot of silica in here, so this is actually going to be quite absorbent. It's going to, you know, hold quite a lot of liquid. So that's what we're left with, something like that. And there we go. So, as I said, not exactly a thing of beauty, and if you really want to know how to do dual coils, if I were you, I'd go off, and there's plenty of other people out there doing really, really good coils, and I would follow them if I were you. I'm feeling my way through this particular one, you know. But anyway, look, I think it looks reasonably okay. Next thing is just to see whether or not it blows up in my face when I try and use it. So let's stick it onto a mod. Again, as I said, we've got this on my little Nemesis, and I think it looks really, really nice on it. I just lock this thing down first so I don't end up blowing my head off. We'll just pull it back just a wee bit. Now for some liquid. My usual trusty cigarillos. So what we'll do is we'll just basically douse this down a bit. Like this. I think that probably looks okay. So now let's just unlock it and see what happens. Now this isn't a fully fresh battery, but it's reasonably close. Well, to me I think that looks like it's doing what it's meant to do. So, our next thing is, well, let's just lock it off again. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, with this cap here, we need to make sure that the air holes here are actually going to be in line with the coils just here. So in this particular case, we're talking about there. We can push this down now. So if we look inside, we can see the coil, and then just in front of the coil you can see the hole. And likewise on the other side, you can see the coil, and then opposite that you can see the hole. So that should be positionally should be just about right. So our next thing to go on is our crown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set it at the second biggest hole, which is the 2mm hole. So you can see that set at that there, but obviously you can adjust it very, very easily afterwards. And then we screw this top cap in here. And that should be us pretty much ready to go. And let's just make sure that it sounds okay. Yeah, it's still going. Right, let's go back up and see how it vapes. Right, what can I say? I'm used to doing coils and K-funds and other things, dual coils. It's not really something that I've been doing that much, but at least it's working. And as I said, this is coming in at 0.9 ohms. As ever with these things, once you start getting into sub-ohm territory, you really need to be careful. I'm no expert in this area at all, I'm really not, but there's plenty of people out there who know a lot about it. Once you get below 1 ohm, you really shouldn't be using it on any of the sort of regulated mods. You know, that's what mechanical mods are for, because there's no circuitry in them at all, there's no electronics or whatever, it's just, you know, it's mechanical, that's all it is. 0.9 isn't dangerous in any way, but once you start going down to the really, really low points, and some people, you know, do that, they're chasing massive clouds of vapor and all the rest of it, you really have to be careful. So I think, you know, as ever with these things, once you go below 1 ohm, caution has to be part of it, and you should always really know what it is that the you know, the resistance is, and something like this, an ohm checker, is really handy, because if you've gone below 1 ohm and you're using something like you know, try to use a Provari or something that's got an atomizer checker in it, it's not going to read it, it's just going to show it as an error. So you could have a 0.2 ohm coil on your mod and you wouldn't know about it. So just stay safe, guys. Anyhow, here we have it, with my slightly untidy dual coil in it, running a 0.9. It was 0.2 Canthal, 0.20 Canthal, 4 wraps on 3mm silica wick, which was folded over twice, so giving you 3 strands, if you like, and then basically just chopped off. So I just put a little bit more juice in here, and again, as I said, you know, with a drip tip as big as this, it's the easiest thing in the world to actually put juice into. Second biggest hole, 2mm hole, that side, also that side, each one facing the actual coil. On my Nemesis, almost a fresh battery in it. So let's see, has it worked? Wow. Yes, I think it's safe to say that it's worked. God, my eyes are watering. Let's go again. It works absolutely fantastically. Now, the one thing that they always say about drippers is, you know, with drippers you get the purest flavour. With a lot of high-end atomizers, not necessarily just drippers, but, you know, some of the really good tank atomizers as well. As time goes on, they're getting better and better at delivering good flavour to you. It used to be almost the sort of the sole preserve of the dripper to give you the cleanest taste. It's not so much anymore. But of the drippers that I've tried, this is up at the top. This is absolutely superb. The taste of it is, and I'm using, you know, my usual liquid, Cigarillos, which I know extremely well, and I know it in all sorts of different atomizers, but it tastes so sweet out of this. It really does. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with a slightly smaller hole. What are we here? We're on the 1.5mm hole on either side. I'll just see what the difference is like. Still loads of vapor, still loads of flavour. Obviously a slightly tighter draw. Some people don't mind loose draws at all. Others, you know, can't stand them. But at that now, that's a... There's a bit of a resistance on the draw, but it is very nice. Now let me try it on the smallest hole. So we're at the very smallest setting there. See what it's like with this. Again, it works very well. And I'm just finally go to the biggest one. You know, when you're getting lots of air in, you're getting lots and lots of vapor coming off it. Looser draw, but the flavour is just amazing. My impressions of this, as I say, I don't really go near drippers that often, because I'm really happy with some of the other things that I have. Dual coils, I think this is probably only the second thing that I've ever put a dual coil in, and do you know what, it wasn't that hard in the end. I'd imagine the more you do it, the easier it is to do it. Prior to putting this together, this video, I also put in 2 microcoils, or macro coils as some people call them. This is done on a 2 or 2.5mm drill bit. And I think I did it with 32 gauge, and I think I did, no, it was actually 28 gauge, and I think I did 8 or 9 wraps each, and it came in at just over 1 ohm, something like that. And that worked really, really well. Now, that may be the way that I'd actually go back to, because once you put in sort of good hard microcoils or macro coils into it on either side, those coils can stay in place. With the coils that I actually did put in, I used cotton in them, and it worked a treat, an absolute treat. And I suppose the advantage of that way is that, you know, once you start losing a bit of flavour and the cotton starts going off, you just pull the cotton off, you dry burn it, the coils stay in place, you put new cotton in, and that's it. So you've got 2 dual coils, dual microcoils, which can stay in place for a long, long time. So I think, you know, I'm going to, after I've finished this, I'm going to put those in and work with that. So all I can really say is, you know, to about the Crown is that I think it's superb. I think it looks great. 100 was it? Let me just get some of the figures here for you. Just go through it quickly. The figures are, the cost is, let me see now. It's $120 US for this one, the one that's actually got the gold on it. 110 for the one that's got the silver or the stainless steel colored one of that. The drip tips are $15. You get them in vapeking.com.ph. Remember, I said this is from the Philippines. And this is from FMP Pinoy, Flip Minds Project Pinoy. Congratulations to him. I think he's produced a really, really nice piece. I could imagine that anybody who's into drippers would love this, because it's just so easy. I mean, Jesus, even I can manage it, you know, and I think it looks great. Let's just see, what is it like on, just pop it onto my brass nemesis. Now obviously this is gold on this, it isn't brass, but brass is a similar colour to gold, so let's just see what it looks like just for the crack. So screw this on here, and yes, it's a different colour from the brass, but that's what it looks like there. I think it looks pretty sweet. Just screw that up there. Have I got a contact? No, I haven't. Now that's nothing to do with, it's nothing to do with the dripper. It's just I have to tighten up my contact there at the bottom, stick it back in again. Undo the button, screw it up, and there we go. So let's give it a go. It is an incredibly pure taste coming off that. Incredibly pure. You know, you're getting everything. Getting absolutely everything off it. So that's it. I'll have all the details up there, and all I can say is that when it comes to drippers, I think this is really, really superb. I certainly recommend it. You know, me being not exactly a professional dripper, me being very much an amateur dripper, I would say that this is really, really a special piece, and I think it's great. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from it, and we'll catch you again soon. Cheers.